This is the Zac Anesbury Show.
Welcome. On today's podcast clip, we have our very first repeat guest, Bob Moore. So you have a much better work-life balance now.
Yeah, I don't do any work.
Obviously you don't sit by idly. So you mentioned doing a little bit of consulting sort of stuff, and obviously a lot of leisure. I really like this idea that you found yourself in a position where you do what you want to do because you don't have to, like, you don't have to work for money anymore. And that must be quite liberating, I'd imagine. And then so you were mentioning working a little bit with Carl. So do you just touch on that when you need to, or the consulting stuff, and then you dip in and out with I'm just trying to understand how you go about work-life balance now.
It's sometimes I'm a little frustrated sort of at the pace that things can move at the university.
Mm-hmm.
Because my pace of getting things done in the business world was much faster.
Yeah.
And this is not pointing fingers at anybody, but it feels like things kind of move slowly sometimes. And that was true, actually. That when I was there in 2019, I felt the same way. But typically, what Carl and I are doing is a couple things. One was, I gave a seminar when I first arrived in 2023, so just the last time.
Mm.
And it was, what I showed was, if you looked at the panel data and you sort of decomposed it into two separate periods, and you followed people who bought a brand and then what else they bought in the category, you found all kinds of interesting things were revealed that way, such as the fact that there really wasn't any such a thing as switching, right? And so we had some really strong proofs of that. And so one of the things that was suggested to me was that we write a paper for like maybe a more popular or crossover publication, something like HBR. Where we would this would be something that could still be fairly rigorous academically, but of interest to the broader population, right?
Mm-hmm.
And written in an accessible way. So I've been working on that with Carl. We need to have some new data for that. The issue that we have right now, as you know, is the data would have to come from the Nielsen Kilts database,
mm-hmm.
which I don't have access to.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to figure out how we finish this paper and get it published. When I can't read, I can kind of write the paper, but I can't really author it.
Mm.
So you know what I mean? I can't be on the paper because of the restrictions on who has access to this data.
Oh.
And then there's some other things that we're doing. One of the things that I talked to Carl about back in 2019 was there's something that I observed over and over again in when I was running businesses, is that whenever I got new distribution in a new channel or a new retailer, I didn't see any diminution of sales of that product in other retailers. So like all of my distribution seemed to be incremental. And we jokingly called that Moore's Law. And so we've been kind of working on that. And the issue, there is some other data that's available to me. And so I've been working with Nick and some of the other people at the Institute to get the data in such a way that I can manipulate it and, go into Tableau and organize it. And there's still a few glitches in the data that are giving me some problems. I'm working with Nick. I think he's back next week.
Yeah.
So I asked something around the beginning, right near Christmas, right? Well, Nick went on holiday. He's not back. So like nothing's happening because I have to wait. So that makes me impatient, and it's not Nick's fault.
No,
There's a lot of holiday. So we're working on those kinds of things. One of the really interesting things, I just sent something to Carl, is that may not require any data from Kilts, but in the sort of this distribution thing, there's something interesting going on in Europe right now where Carrefour and Pepsi are at odds with each other. And Pepsi said they took their products out of distribution to Carrefour, and Carrefour says, no, you didn't. We kicked you out. And
Ah,
so all of their categories, snacks, beverages, other things that they have, I can't remember some of the other categories, are not going to be sold in Carrefour. And I sent a note to Carl and said, hey, this is a real live Moore's Law case happening right now. And, my prediction is that, Pepsi's business will not increase materially outside of Carrefour, and that Carrefour's business will go down, but not because some people, not as much as Pepsi's, because some people will switch, right? But not many people will go to a different store when they can't find Pepsi products in Carrefour. So that's kind of, I'm like, this is happening now. Let's get the data, and so we may be able to do something with that, right now. So I'm excited about that.
yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing. And I think that's why I think if you were to ask if there was something that was missing in my life and undone when I retired, it's really the Ehrenberg Bass stuff to me. It's that kind of research because I really feel like I have some interesting observations and ideas and things that I've seen that you haven't seen because you haven't looked at them. You haven't looked at things the same way I have.
Mhm.
And they turn out to be, when I talk to people about it, they're like they found they're very interesting and important. And it's like, I had no idea they would be interesting and important.
Mm.
To me, they're just things that I saw and I thought, oh, well, everybody knows about this, but they don't,
Mm.
And so the fact that I feel like I have something to contribute and not having a way to do it, a formal way to do it, and being halfway around the world from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute doesn't help in some ways, right? Because it's much harder to collaborate. It is, I think that if I were retired from a business and I were in Adelaide, I'd be in the office every day.
Mm.
It would be my second job, even if you didn't pay me. I would still be happy to show up because it's kind of like my fun new hobby.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. When you're tackling a really exciting, problem that exists in the world, or a question that has no answer, it is extremely satisfying to kind of work on. Like, you wake up in the morning, and some days I just can't wait to get to the office. So no, I completely agree with you. The writing up of the results then can take a little bit of a while and try to explain that logic to someone else. I won't out this person, but I remember someone once said to me, I'm really struggling to write this paper. I've been doing it for the last 6 months, and I have no motivation to do it because I already know the answer. They're like, so my mind's already solved this problem and I want to move on, but I'm like pushing myself back 6 months ago so I can actually, disseminate that to everyone else.
Yeah, I know who that person is.
Hey guys, it's Zac Anesbury here with just a couple of quick reminders. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. There are plenty more interviews to come with some of the world's leading marketing academics and practitioners. You do not want to miss these. In the meantime, if you're looking for another way to connect, then follow me on Twitter at Zac Anesbury. That is ZACANESBURY. For my take on the marketing issues of the day.
That was the Zac Anesbury Show.